I have very little time for Norman Finkelstein, who lies about Israel, seems to get some kind of kick out of demonizing the Jewish people, dehumanizing them, tearing apart their connection to their ancient indigenous biblical homeland. But I don't know whether he intended to do this, but in a clip that someone sent me, and I think this may have been from a while ago, quite a few years ago, he said and admitted that many people tied to the Palestinian cause, the NGOs and all those organizations that report on what's going on there to help the Palestinian cause, have an interest in trying to perpetuate the conflict and the suffering. This is him saying that. Have a watch at what he says, because it's actually quite revealing.
Whenever a cause has gone on so long as this one has, people develop an investment in its perpetuation. There are 10,000 NGOs in Ramallah now. That means 10,000 organizations which are paid for by foreign countries, mostly European, to facilitate the peace process. And if you're in an NGO, compared to the salaries of ordinary Palestinians, it's quite good. Ramallah is a pretty impressive lifestyle now. And so you develop a stake in perpetuating the situation. And so you don't even want to think about realistic solutions because part of you doesn't even want it to end. I mean, I have to admit myself, let's say it ended tomorrow. What will I do? If it ends, okay, what am I?
This is fascinating. He just needs to go one step further and he'll start to see the world the way we do. Because it's not just the NGOs. It's not just the Palestinian Authority that has a vested interest in trying to keep the suffering going, keep the conflict going, because they get more funds, they get more money, which they can take through corruption for their own personal ends, just like the Hamas leaders do, those billionaires in Qatar. But take it one step further. It's the very Palestinian cause itself which has a vested interest in keeping the conflict going. Because the Palestinian identity, which was created in the late 60s, was created as a ploy to create a supposed victim narrative. That Israel was this great aggressor and perpetuating an ongoing conflict and oppression of the indigenous Palestinians. And so they just wanted to be liberated, and what they wanted to do was make this narrative so that Israel would have a constant headache, never be able to resolve the issue. Because they would say, well, you took our land and you're oppressing us, and whatever Israel tries to do to protect herself, they'll say, you're oppressing us, it's not fair. The Palestinian cause and leaders, both past and present, themselves had a vested interest in keeping the conflict going and not actually agreeing to any kind of two-state solution or peace deal or whatever. Because from the get-go, they just wanted to use it as a ploy to get rid of Israel. So yes, maybe the NGOs are happy to keep the status quo, but also the Palestinian cause itself wants to create more suffering, more pain, more hardship, more death. We saw Ismail Haniyeh a few weeks ago when he found that his sons and grandsons were killed in Gaza. He just shrugged his shoulders. Well, they'll be martyrs, whatever. They want to see more suffering because it's all part of their agenda. For the NGOs, it might be money, but for them, it's about eradicating Israel. Remember, the displacement occurred after Israel was established, not before. It was when the surrounding Arab armies tried to fight a war to get rid of Israel, and when Israel fought back, that most of the Arab displacement occurred. When Israel was fighting her war of survival, and that's what it's always been about. And the Palestinian identity was just created as a ploy to try and undermine Israel's narrative, the true narrative, to replace it with a false narrative, when actually they are Arabs, descendants of the Arab colonizers, of the Islamic invasion of the 7th century. And Israel was always happy to live with them, but they weren't happy to live with a sovereign Jewish state. It's interesting that he acknowledges this. He just needs to go one step further, as I said, and then he will come to realization that this has never really been about genuine self-determination, a cause of genuinely trying to end the suffering. It's about cynical ploys, either to make money or to get rid of the Jewish people's one and only nation state. Biblical, indigenous, historic, internationally, legally binding, and God-given state. If you know the truth, it can be incredibly powerful.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.